Hey, and welcome back to the Cities Reimagined podcast. I'm your voice of choice, Johannes Riegler, and this is Reimagining Urban Biking. If you're listening in today, you'll probably jump on a bike now and then yourself to run to work or to run errands or just for the fun of it, and that's great. I certainly have always had a close relationship with biking and also to my bikes, plural. I own a couple of them because you cannot own enough bikes. That love affair, let's call it a love affair for now, to my bikes just emerged when I was a teenager, when I got my mom's old bike, which gave me all the freedom to run around my city. I could meet people in places I would not be able to access them with public transport or by walking. And later I got a mountain bike, and that led me to ride rougher terrains. And where I'm from, that was pretty easy because you easily start in a city and you run into the forest and then out into the city again. It was really nice. And I still love starting in the city and ending up in the mountains in Austria. We are very, very lucky that we have the opportunity to do so. But one bike is very special to me, and that is a used bike I bought in Copenhagen when I studied there in 2010 for about 100 euros. And I'm not entirely sure if it wasn't stolen when I bought it. Anyway, I over the years repainted it. I replaced every part of it besides the frame. And there are so many memories to this. And I still ride it to this day. So 15 years in, I'm still on this bike, which brings me to work every day. And I'm sure many of you have similar memories and experiences with bikes and with biking. But today's show isn't about my bikes. It's about creating the mindsets and the momentum for urban cycling as a serious mode of transport. My guest today is Josip Rotar. He's from the Maribor Cycling Network. He's the former president of the network and now a member of the Maribor City Council. The Maribor Cycling Network started about 30 years ago as an activist group and even moved into a political party, but we will hear about that. Josip will tell us all about those connections and connection between the political level and activism and what it can do to shift policy making, and tell us how these bottom-up actions are required for a long-term vision. Josip and the Maribor Cycling Network were also part of the Urban Doers community. That is an initiative run by Driving Urban Transitions. We recorded this episode or this conversation during his stay in Vienna in May 2025 when he was here for the Act Now conference. That was a conference in the City Hall of Vienna on urban democracy when Vienna was the capital of democracy. So here you can also already see these links between, let's say, biking, democracy, the very local level, activist groups, and the political level. So if you're just remotely into biking, into urban biking, this is just a show you cannot miss. If you like the show, make sure to subscribe to the channel, rate it, or send me an email. I love to hear from you at johannes@anthropocene.city. But that's enough for the monologue today. Here's my conversation with Josip Rotar on reimagining urban biking. Josip, it's so nice that you came over. In Vienna.
Thank you for your invitation.
Yeah, thanks for coming over. We know each other from Driving Urban Transitions, from the Urban Doers community, because you, with your work, had Urban Doers grant a couple of years ago. And today, you're in Vienna. Now you're sitting in my guest room, in an apartment, guest room, office, and so on. It's a multifunctional room. Later, we go to City Hall for the Act Now conference in Vienna, which is about just sustainable transitions. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
As well. But you work a lot with cycling and biking. Tell me a little bit about what's your first memory about cycling?
First memory about cycling. Well, I grew up in a small town on the border with Austria.
In Slovenia.
Yeah, in Slovenia, yeah. It's called Gornja Radgona, and my family is working family, so it's like working class, you know. And in that time, it was in 80s, everybody who grew up in that neighborhood had a bike. So it was something very, very normal and usual to do it. Even my neighbor who was handicapped used to cycle,
Yeah.
So it was really something very normal, part of the growing up. But still, in that time, not so many adult people cycled.
It was more for recreation?
Yeah, more for recreational as some, let's say, toy or tool for playing,
Yeah. For me, really, I learned cycling when I was a young child, I think. But when I was a teenager, then it really opened up the city also in a way, because you discover a whole different freedom because you can just go places on your bike. Was that the same for you?
Yeah, I mean, we actually discovering of the how far is something, for me was interesting because if I went there with my parents by car, it was completely different how you look at the how far something is, and with the bicycle. It was a new discovery.
And cycling, if you bring it, let's say, into the 21st century, cycling kind of ticks all the boxes, right? It's sustainable. It's not expensive to do. It's not too expensive to buy a bike and get around.
Healthy.
It's healthy. It doesn't need a lot of space in cities. So if you talk about sustainability in cities, it actually checks all the boxes.
Definitely.
But what prevents us from using more bicycles, or what prevents people and cities to have more bicycle infrastructures? What's the struggle there?
I think the way of modern life in general, that's the first thing. Especially we live in the very instantaneous gratification, capitalism, consumerism. So everyone can do whatever he wants if he pay enough money. But that's the message. The car industry is very, very strong and persistent, and we actually now talk about the environmental changes and that we have to do the action now, almost for 20, 30 years. But the car industry didn't adapt a lot. Even the cars are bigger and bigger, taking more and more spaces in the cities. They are much more convenient and much more luxurious, and everyone wants to have a car. It's really coming to this old ape brain inside of our heads, that we want to have it, and it's really difficult. Actually, if you want to cycle, you have to think a little bit first, because instinctively your instincts are going to the car, and I think that's maybe the.
So it probably depends on what city you're in or where you are, where you're based.
Yeah, of course. Definitely. If the city is really working on it and try to change the behavior and try to make use of car a little bit not so easy or not so car friendly, then, and give also another alternatives that communities are walkable and cycle friendly, then shift can start. But if you don't have a city which is friendly to alternatives, you will only have the car usage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just remember, there's this nice publication by the colleagues from, maybe I find it on my bookshelf. It's a bit weird in the podcast now to look for it. But this from the colleagues of Smarter Than Car. Do you know this? From Francesco and so on. And we're going to put the link in the podcast notes because people cannot see it. It's this urban mobility after cars and oil, which is very nice. We can have a look at this later, but I just remembered it. But tell me a little bit about how's you live in Maribor now. Yeah. How's the situation with cars in Maribor? You said before we started the recording that there's the only city in the region. People are used to drive there because they come from outside the city as well. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so Maribor is the second biggest city in Slovenia, northeast Slovenia. It's very near the Austrian border. Ljubljana is the capital, but Maribor is like the urban regional center of the northeast Slovenia, and it has 100,000 population. And in recent years, let's say last 5 or 10 years, the development of the different alternatives also started there. So not anymore so much cars, but giving much more emphasis to the broadening the pedestrian zone in the city center, in the old city center, reconstructing different streets, and also giving place for the cyclists and improving also the public transport. So modernizing it, giving new lines to look much modern.
I was in Maribor a couple of, maybe 2 years ago, and I think you had the smallest bus I've ever seen going through the old town. It was like an on-demand service, but it was just the cutest, smallest bus I've ever seen.
Yeah. We have this, it's a special service. The bus is called Meister. So of the name of the General Meister, who was a historical person, very important for Maribor. And this Meister is going around only the city center. Yeah. And you can go up and he can take you wherever you want in the city center. It's really small. Ljubljana, they also have this in the city center, but they call it Cavalier. It's actually idea from Ljubljana. And it was introduced in Maribor, I think 5 years ago, not so long ago. But if I want to go back to your question before, that recently also city of Maribor want to push the cars away from the city center, and they do it with the different strategies and tactics. For example, one of these tactics is making less and less car parks, and you also have to pay for the parking in the city center. And this is making a lot of people very nervous and angry, sometimes rightfully and sometimes also not. It's actually a very interesting process, what is going on, because partly it's part of this new development is also a little bit connected with the gentrification and that city is reshaping in a more touristic way, but this is showing also some negative aspects, which is not good. But still, people like it.
So the idea is to get rid of the cars, or to get less cars in the city center for more touristic purposes and having a nice environment, which then triggers gentrification.
Yeah, and also the prices of the apartments are going up recently. So it's very, the process is complex. It's not just one-way process.
It's not only about bike lanes. What does it have to do with the social and cultural elements of biking? So in many places, biking culturally is foremost seen as a recreational activity, but how do you also mentioned that from your childhood or from your teenage years? What is there to learn, or what does need to change to use the bicycle more for getting around the city as a sustainable and healthy mode of transport?
Well, now I think that people start to shift and think in terms that cycling is not anymore recreational only, but recreation is a kind of a good entry point, into the world of cycling. If you start to cycle during the weekend and holidays, maybe you will start to cycle also during the week on your way to the school or on your way to the job. But still, some people have different errands around and it's not so easy, and the car is still giving them this opportunity to challenge all these obstacles.
What is the story behind the Maribor Cycling Network?
It's our association. So it's Maribor Cycling Network. Mariborska kolesarska mreža is association. Last year we had 30 years anniversary. And it was introduced in the 90s when the cars were really, motorization in Maribor was at the peak. Because at that time, a new country, a new political and social model was on the power, and so people really waited for a very long time to get some really good or modern Western cars, you know, because before they were used to have this Zastava and Yugo, you know, these cars. And when the borders fell down and the liberalization of the markets started, you know, everybody was really, really keen to have a big car, modern Western car, you know. So you cannot expect with this generation to change, to shift their.
But how did you come in with the network? Because you're now established for 30 years. Was that a kind of counter movement to what you just described?
Yeah, it was a counter movement. Yeah, so I was not part of this movement in that time because I was still minor.
Yeah,
I was 13 years old.
I was wondering how you keep so young.
Yeah, year by year. I came to MKM in 2007 or 2006. I was working at the student radio station, so I was a journalist.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and this student radio station was really into the political activism, and I was. My job was to really discover ecological movements and social movements, and I was really interested in the NGOs, what they are doing. So because I studied also the traffic engineering, and my professor was the president in that time, he actually asked me at one point if I want
the network.
He actually asked me if I want to be an ex-president.
Nice.
Yeah, and I said, okay, I will think a little bit. Then I called him after 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
That's how you become a president.
Yeah. So I became a president, and I started to run the association. It was in 2009, and I ran it until 2019. And then I switched the presidency to younger generation, and now I'm helping still the association to develop.
Tell me what you do in the association.
What I do at the association.
You and the association itself.
So usually we have a mobility center in our. That's our place in Maribor. And it's a cycling-friendly place where people can come and repair their bikes. And we give them advice how to repair, how to go around the city. Yeah. We invite tourists, give them also renting the bicycles, etc., and give a lot of different information. That's not actually my part. I was there when everything was established and give the how to create everything and give the directions. But now I help more when we apply for the projects and give ideas. What should we do? What we want to do according to the group, what they want to do, because it's difficult to write projects. Sometimes you have one idea and people who work on the project have another idea, you know, so it's really about the conversation and talk with people what they want.
In the network, you really do a lot of advocacy as well, right? Advocacy, you work on more the cultural elements around biking, and also you influence policies on local and national level.
Yeah, let's say local, but also on the national, we are connected with the Maribor Cycling Network, and we try to do a lot of things with them. And also in Slovenia, there is one coalition for sustainable traffic policies, and it's actually one mailing list which is existing for 20 years. And there are a lot of people there inside this coalition, from different NGOs, from different academical institutions, and also governmental organizations. And it's a good, good spot to push some projects and also push some agendas related to sustainable mobility.
And you also got recognized by the mayor. We talked about that before, right? The mayor knows you.
Yeah.
In that sense. How's that going? Do you contribute to policies of the city, and how do you work with the city? Coming from this, as you described it, this activist background, or this with this from an activist side. How did that develop, and how is it now?
It's quite difficult and tricky because I'm a person doing policies from the activism background, and our mayor is a mayor doing policy from the businessman background. And our course of action usually collides. Sometimes we come together with beautiful projects, and it's a good synergy. But on some parts, we really cannot collaborate because he see city and feel it in a totally different way. He wants to grab money from the people's pockets all the time.
But you also made it into the city government?
Yes, I'm part of the city council. City council is 45 member in the city, and I was elected 3 times because we also established our political party, Party of Cyclists and Pedestrians, in 2014.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I was elected 3 times, and so I attend all the city council meetings, and I have to collaborate also with the mayor.
But that seems like that there is a understanding among the residents of Maribor what you're doing and valuing your work, or otherwise you would not get elected into the city council.
Yeah. Well, if you are a politician, it's you also have, like everywhere in life, you have ups and downs, Sometimes you feel that you are not anymore necessary or useful, But sometimes then unexpectedly someone randomly say that he saw you and what are you doing? It's great. And he cannot believe that you still do this, after so many years that cycling movement is still doing things, and that's give me some, recognition and, boost to do some other things still.
Let's stick with that for a minute. What are you particularly proud of?
Well, recently we introduced that our concept of cycling corridors, which are we made a concept of the cycling corridors a few years ago. And it's a concept of primary cycle lanes from different parts of the city, connecting all surrounding areas. And we introduced that in the urban spatial plan in March this year. So it was quite an achievement because urban cycling plan, not cycling plan, but spatial plan. Spatial plan is a really long-term spatial document, which is not accepted every year, but every 20. So we succeeded to
get that in.
To get that in. And I also collaborated a few years ago, let's say 10 years ago, at the first generation of urban mobility plan for Maribor. And cycling part was really good elaborated because we already published a year or 2 before that document, cycling strategy. And we really made a strong analysis, what is wrong, what have to be done, and the goals, the vision, what we want to do. And it's still very strong. If I go to read this cycling strategy, which was written in 2013, I can still put my name on and relate it because it's really good written.
But that also sounds like something changed over the last 10 years.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me about that.
It means that city officials started to think about the cycling also when they start to do some road reconstructions or do some new developments in the neighborhood, that they also think, cyclists also need their space, their priority. Pedestrians also need We have to remove the obstacles. We have to remove the conflict points. We have to give them recognition on the traffic lights, So these small, steps and changes which are followed also by the strategy which was written. And now when the Ministry for Infrastructure have the projects for development of new cycle lanes or introduction of new sustainable mobility measures, the city already know what they want to do. And it's much easier because we don't need to come to the municipality every week or every month to say, you have to do this, you have to change this, because it's actually part of their job now. And they started to recognize it.
That's great. Yeah. But with especially, as you said, every street reconstruction is now considering that. I think that is so important because I recently learned that once you miss the chance to implement anything new, like a bike lane or some green spots in the street, then it tends to be 70 years until you have the chance again that this street is redone, which is a very, very long time.
That's actually one lifespan of the whole generation.
Exactly. But then again, there's also this dilemma connected to it because you have, there's only so much space in a city. Of course, when you take out the cars, there's a lot more space. But there's a lot of, let's say, competition for different uses, also for sustainable uses. There could be a bike lane, there could be a tree, there could be pedestrians. Do you have any thoughts on this dilemma of how to bring all these different sustainability aspects in public space together, and where do you reduce?
Somebody said once that usual traffic planners start to think about the street in the profile from the middle of the street, and they start to solve the problems in the middle of the street. And when they solve the problems on the middle of the street, there are less space to somebody who is on the side of the street, But if you change this perspective and start to work on the street reconstruction from the edge, from the side to side, then you will make much more space on the sides and give only the necessary space in the middle, which is needed.
Interesting. Different perspective.
Yeah. Because, when I started with my activism in MKM, we had a lot of meetings also on the spot somewhere in the city when reconstruction started, and we have to talk with projects, developers who were there, and they said, we need 3 meters and 3 meters on the both sides of the car lane, otherwise the cars won't go through. And we said, but sometimes you have to also adapt to the different circumstances, because sometimes the whole street, especially the older parts of the town, don't have 6 meters. They have maybe 5, you know. So you have to find a way, And with this thinking, we actually introduced a lot of, shared lanes, which are lanes for all different users. And with of course with different hierarchy, with the pedestrians and cyclists on the top.
How would you describe the relevance of urban biking, let's say, or urban bicycling over Europe or the world at the moment, and where do you see the future going with that?
I think in the last 10 or 15 years, it was really steep curve up, especially after COVID, when a lot of cities introduce some kind of temporary measures to give people opportunity to travel, because all other modes of travel were not so friendly to users because of the restrictions and everything. And also now with e-bikes, the cycling industry gave so many good answers to the challenges in the last 10 years that it's really amazing. Today, you can see a lot of older people who never cycle in the age of let's say 30 years ago. If you saw somebody who is 70 or 60 years old, he would never be on the bicycle, you know. And today you can see so many people cycling around, okay, with electric bikes, but they still cycle, you know, and they are active, which is actually great. But if you ask me about the connection with the cars, I still think that car industry is very, very strong, and it's never actually playing the game that they truly believe that they will reduce impact on environment. They actually still build big cars, and they're still marketing and promote business as usual.
Exactly. And the electric bike maybe, but the electric car will not save us from that. In that sense, it will just exchange, really let's say, one problem to the next one. So we know what could be the best, not the best maybe, but a mix of ways to go forward of solutions. But still, it seems like we are too stuck with the car for economic or for any other reasons.
I remember after 2000, it was some years after the year 2000 that there was a trend, you know, that there were much more popular small cars, you know, with low gas consumption, like Opel Corsa or something small. Smarts and Mini, you know, like this kind of cars. But today you cannot see these cars anymore.
That's right.
You can see only SUVs, and SUV is a new trend.
Yeah.
You know, so what is happening? I mean, the cycling industry really made a lot of improvements in that year, but car industry didn't actually made it. And today you can see more and more militarized
cars. You even see it by the design. When you see it in the mirror, you know, at night in the mirror, it looks like there's some predator animal behind you on the street, because they are designed in a way that, you know, these faster cars, that they look very evil.
Yeah, they look much more evil. Okay, I don't want to step in the field of you know, car hater, but still in a way that industry is really, you know, trying to not to change things, but to adapt the users, how they will respond to what they put on the market. You know? So it's crazy.
Right. So coming back to your tiny buses in Maribor, they are the opposite of a predator.
Yeah. But also, like, if you remember the cars from our childhood, you know, they were much more, how to say?
Cute.
Yeah, cute and funky.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Josip, if somebody would ask you, what would your 3 suggestions be to change anything in your city? What would you say?
3 things. First, of course, you have to be active and you have to connect with people. That's first thing, because you cannot be alone. Sometimes people come to me and say, how should we do a new cycling network in our town? Are you alone?
Yeah.
You need somebody, you know, that's the first step. You cannot do it alone. You need somebody. That's first thing. The second thing, try to show, if you want to be the change, to make the change, you have to show the change, especially if you want that young children, everybody want to cycle, you also have to cycle and show. That's why we do a lot of actions through the years. We cycle with the people in the city, you know, because we show also to others, but also to them, how to properly cycle, how to behave in traffic, you know, how to behave if you are a small group, or if you are alone, or if you are a big group, you know. because that's a different parameter,
Yeah.
And the third thing will be try to not solve all the problems in 1 year. Try to look long term and try to think as a marathon.
I think that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Super nice. Josip, shall we go to City Hall and inspire some mayors?
Yeah, let's try.
Let's try. I will maybe even put on a proper shirt for that. Josip, thank you so much for stopping by. That was a pleasure.
To me also, thank you.
Yeah, enjoy your time in Vienna.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested in Josip's work, you find all the links below. Or if you're interested in the DOT Urban Doers Grant, if you're a local initiative yourself, you also find all the information and links below in the show notes. If you like the show, I would be happy if you leave a review or rate the show. Or even better, send me an email at johannes@anthropocene city. I hope to catch you soon. Bye.